Hi crafty friends, Nancy back with another Create a Card with me. Excuse any background noises. As you know, I do live in a full house and I've got my son home right now eating some lunch, and I know the dog's been playing as well. I'm playing along with the current challenge at CAS Colors and Sketches, challenge number 507. If you go to my blog, the link will be in the description box there. You can go see what the sketch actually looks like. And I've decided to play it up a little bit differently. And I want a rainbow kind of look at the top, or for the main part of my card. So rather than doing that with cut letters and different colors of paper, I'm actually going to ink blend myself a bit of a rainbow. So I've grabbed some distressed inks. I've got picked raspberry, scattered straw, twisted citron, salty ocean, and shaded lilac. And I'm just gonna put down a little layer of each of these colors, get them as saturated as I can without taking too much time, because that's my actual pet peeve with ink blending, is how long it can sometimes take to get a really good blend. But I don't think this needs to be real gray. This is my tip for storing the foams. I only have 2 handles. I store my foams behind my mini pads here. That way I know which one's for which. And when they start wearing out or stop sticking or anything, I just I replace them. So we'll go in with the yellow. You can see I overlapped a little bit to get a bit of an orange color in there. And we'll go in next with the Twisted Citron, which is probably my favorite Tim Holtz color. I don't know what it is about this green, but it just makes my heart happy, especially when I pair it with that Salty Ocean that's going to be coming up next. Do a little bit more here. This is my favorite color combination of distress inks for a rainbow look. Sometimes I'll add an orange into it, depends on how big of a section I'm doing. But for today, not as much. And last but not least, I don't even know if I'm going to end up using all of 5 colors, but let's see what happens. All right, so there is my ink blended panel. And I'm just gonna pull up that sketch again for myself. So I've got it. Computer went to sleep on me. Now I'm just gonna go in and kind of decide what colors I want these letters to be. Yeah, I may not ever get to purple here. Another P there. Unless I move over just a little bit and do more like that. And then I'll have that other P in there. Actually, I think that looks pretty good. So some more green tape just to tape everything down. Doesn't stick as well to the slightly damp background here, which will make things a little more difficult. I'll just maybe carefully carry it over to my Big Shot here and cut those letters out, and then I'll place that P back in there and cut it as well. And of course, the only letter that stuck was the one letter I need to use a second time. So I'm just gonna get my pokey tool and poke that one letter P out. Go back in and cut. All right. So here we've got everything. maybe keep that for something else. You never know, might want to use it. I'll just tuck these to the side for now. All right. So now we have our letters. We want to make sure we get them in the right order. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. So they're gonna go that way. I'm gonna clean my fingers just a little bit to make sure I don't mess up my nice white cardstock coming up here in a second. Let's do another white panel. You know me. Why keep it plain if you don't have to? So I'm just taking a 1/4 inch off of each side of this. And I'm gonna bring out my trusty little tea ruler here. This one, it happens to be from My Sweet Petunia. The reason I bought it is it actually fits in my Misty as well, which I kind of like. I'm gonna find kind of the middle of my cardstock. Up and down. And draw myself a light pencil line there. And then come back here with my letters. Want that P kind of centered. And the reason I'm using the T ruler is I'm going to use it to kind of keep my letters straight as I'm gluing them down. How far down do I want? I think that looks good. And grab my glue. And I always start in the center and work my way to either side. I just find it's easier to get things kind of at least started out centered somewhat and somewhat straight. I've also been known to cut that panel down at the end in case I didn't get things where I wanted them to be, and I can always trim it up a little bit if I want to, make it a little bit smaller. It's not a big deal. And just kind of eyeballing how far apart they go. You could use the measurements on the ruler here though for that as well if you wanted something a little more precise. Remember that a little bit of this glue goes a long way. You don't want it scooching out the sides if possible. I mean, it usually happens to me at least once, and it just did on the H, but clean that up a little. And then we'll go in and do the other side. One thing I really like about card sketches is that they're open for interpretation. If you go back and have a quick peek at the sketch on my blog, you'll see that this is supposed to be 5 vertical lines. And my first thought was to do something with some patterned paper. And then I thought, why not do something a little different? So I played with some thoughts in my head and I thought, what the heck, let's try some letters. And like I said, I could have done these all different colors of cardstock, but that's a lot of individual cutting. So I just preferred to kind of get in there and do it with the Distress inks and make myself a pretty rainbow to cut out. And I kind of like how there's some overlap. So, you know, get like a reddy orange here and a kind of different shade of green here, slightly different shade of blue there. I just kind of like how that all worked out. I then go in with my eraser. Find one that actually has some nib on it still. You want to make sure you have a nice white eraser for things like this. Don't ever use the one on the end of your pencil, no matter how tempting it is, because it's always going to leave lines behind. I do have one that works a little bit better for these small spaces. I just have no clue where it is right now. So there we have started this card. I can see a little bit of extra glue here, just while it's still a little bit damp. Go in with my tweezers or another sharp edged object and just kind of get rid of it there. And tuck things out of the way. And then let's just find a nice big word birthday. I know the one I'm looking for, I just have to find it. Well, maybe I don't. Maybe I've got two different options here. Oh, there's another one. I want something that's a little slightly different look to it for that birthday. That stands out a little bit more. And I can't actually find the one I'm looking for. Don't know what's happened to it. So I will see what these ones look like. So I know this has got other things on it, but I can make this work. That might actually be, oh wait, that's a slightly bigger one. I think that might be it. Yeah, I think that's actually gonna be what I want to do. So to do this, we're gonna mask off a portion of the stamp to only get stamped the part that we want. Actually, how does that one? This one might actually be easier to mask off, so let's use it. Today is your birthday, so celebrate in style. We're just gonna use the birthday part though. So I'm gonna get that as centered as I can, tucked up nice and close to the happy. And I'm gonna close the door of my MISTI to pick it up. And then there are a few things you can do. You can either use the green tape or sticky notes work as well. And I'm just going to mask off. Oh, this is gonna be tricky because that is really close there. Mask off the portions of this stamp that I don't want. And so that and that. Now this, it's not perfect, but it will work. We're gonna go in with our VersaFine Clear ink, ink this up, and now the key to this is make sure you remove these before you move forward. I toss them directly into the garbage or recycling just so that they're not gonna ink anything else up. Stamp that down, and that worked out pretty darn good if I do say so myself. Clean my stamp. You guys probably haven't seen me do that very often. I am usually a clean as you go kind of girl when I'm creating. I do not like having stuff around when I'm creating. I like things kind of cleaned up, put away, out of my way. I just work better in a cleaner environment, I think. So let's just take a second for me to put my letters back. HAP, oh, that's the Y. There we go. So this alphabet, by the way, was Concord and Ninth tall type alphabet. And I like that it's a little bit different, a little bit more fun. And I dropped a letter on the floor, so just wanted to pick that up before I lost it. And let's tuck that out of the way. So again, we are here with a panel. What do we want to do with it, you guys? Do we want some glitter? Do we want, I think we might need some glitter actually. The thing with clean and simple cards, they're supposed to be clean, they're supposed to be simple, obviously by the name, right? And for some people that means very little layers, very little embellishment, things like that. So you have to kind of play with things and understand what clean and simple is and do what you can to embellish without taking away from the clean and simple aspect. So the fact that I've already got 5 colors going on in here, plus black, that's already made things more busy than had those letters all been the same color. Does that make sense? Adding a bunch of layers to it, while they may be really thin layers and the majority of my card front is white, that's gonna take away from the simplicity of it. Glitter is gonna take away from the simplicity of it, just because you're adding more elements, more different things to it. And that takes away from what ends up being clean and simple. So we've got to decide here whether we want like a slightly sparkly edge to this. Oh, you know what? I have an idea. This adds something different to it without adding a whole lot of busyness, in my opinion anyway. And these are the stitched dies. So if I take one here, is that too small? Let's try the next one up. I need another set of these. That's too big. All right. I need the set in between for these so that they all can nest a little bit better. So for this, I'm gonna kind of put it just like that. I'm trying to decide if my happy is crooked all of a sudden. Hope not, but it might be. Oh well, handmade, right? So I'm just gonna head over and give this a quick cut with my Big Shot. One tip I have for the Big Shot with cutting things such as this this die with a very flat edge, you want to make sure that it doesn't go into your cutting machine straight on like this, because it's actually going to, you're going to hear it, it's going to go thunk, and it doesn't always give as nice of a cut, and it actually will start to damage your machine over time. So always give it a little bit of a turn so that it doesn't come in full on. You can see the machine and it'll come in this corner and gradually take that long edge rather than all at once. Just a little tip that I have for to make your machine last longer and keep cutting well. All right, so let's take this off. I find with the stitch dies, they're always a little bit hard to get out. Just all right, so back a white card base with our Score Pal, and as always, rub my finger along 5.5 and then use my stylus to make my line. You want to fold, so I scored this way, you want to fold it the opposite way because you have now stretched those fibers. I like to use this bone folder. It's not actually bone, this one's a Teflon one, just to crease that a little bit more. And now you see, even though I'm putting a white on white layer here, it actually, I've got all sorts of little pieces of stuff there. It actually looks like a different layer because of that stitched outline. And it's still keeping it relatively clean and simple. There are some purists who are going to say this isn't clean and simple enough. But in my dictionary, this is still pretty darn clean and simple. So we're just going to take some adhesive here and take my card front, make sure it's right way up. If my card, when I fold it, has an extra little bit of an edge on one side, I always put that side to the back because I find it helps the card to open. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes the paper is cut better than other times, but sometimes it's cut a little off, so you end up, when you score, to have one side a little bit longer than the other. One thing I really like about this tape is it's not permanent until you burnish things down. And then it sticks really, really well. So I like to just kind of play with my layers, see if I can get them as straight as I can, and then give it a good press down. Now, how can we color those happy letters to get them a little bit sparkly? How's about this Nuvo Glitter Gloss Aqua Shimmer Pen? This would probably work. You want to give it a good shake, make sure that it's going to paint before you get started, and just go over your letters lightly. I don't want a whole bunch of sparkle on this, I want just a bit. I don't know if it's picking it up on camera or not. One of the issues with doing something that is a water-based like this with the distress inks is that it will change those distress inks just a bit because they are water reactive. So you want to make sure you do a light hand with this, go over it once or twice max. You can see how I've kind of pulled in some of that blue onto the purple there without even thinking about it. But you don't want a whole heck of a lot of color transfer. And there we have it. That is my card for CIS Colors and Sketches Challenge 507, which is live as of March 21st for 2 weeks. Thanks for coming out and making a card with me.